Hell yeah, guys. We are back. Game 3. Real fast game. So you didn't have to go anywhere. You just get it up, get your water, and sit back down because this game 3 is going to be going on. And hopefully we'll see a really strong game here because game 1, 4-4, definitely very soundly trouncing Replika. And then Replika returning the favor in game 2. Hopefully we're going to see a little bit more even and longer competitive game here. Hopefully both teams will pull out their A game and not so much of the rushing Radiance build on Doom. Not a big fan of that. But Holy, you mute your mic.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah,
No worries.
trouncing actually, very nice word. I like that one.
I know. I figure, during these breaks I like to pull out the old thesaurus. And, no, actually, I don't actually do that. That would be really, really, really gay. All right, guys, we're going to see the bans coming out. Tidehunter, Windrunner, and Leshrac being banned by 404, and then Lycan, Furion, and Invoker being banned out, leaving, of course, the Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon is going to be the first pick for the 404 crew, and, of course, that instantly locks down any future pickups of Anti-Mage on the Replika team. That's what I really like about Shadow Demon. Not only is he really versatile, but because of the fact that he's such a great counter to one of the sort of classically best carries in the game, Anti-Mage, being able to pick him up right away just sort of knocks down that hero. It's like you pretty much you had an additional ban. You were able to pick up Shadow Demon and you banned Anti-Mage for the opposite team. You still have the opportunity to pick him up if you want to, but the other team, for the whole entire rest of their picks, they can't really put Anti-Mage anywhere into a strategy from here on out.
Yeah, well, and the Shadow Demon Anti-Mage combo actually isn't too bad. It's a little gimmicky sometimes, but being able to make 4 copies of Anti-Mage once he has Manta is just a ton of mana burn, and can actually work pretty effectively. So yeah, that's a kind of nice not double-edged sword, killing 2 birds with 1 stone with that pickup. We'll have to see what Replika does do to try to counter that at this point, or what hero they do decide to go with. A lot of the popular bans or picks taken out of here, and they do actually go instantaneously Queen of Pain and Enchantress, even though I guess no, the Enchantress pickup was them. So yeah, the Enchantress and the Queen of Pain was actually for the Dire last game, so it didn't work out so well for the Dire, but the Enchantress worked out quite well for Replika, so deciding to go with that strategy again, trying to take some early tower advantage and get that extra gold, especially for your supports. It's really nice, makes them a lot less likely to get picked off. And then the Queen of Pain, which again is just a hero that's really popular. Pretty, I don't know. I mean, if you have to match Queen of Pain up against the Shadow Demon in the lane, Queen of Pain is going to get dominated. But it also very difficult for Shadow Demon to actually kill. So, I mean, at least there is that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Replika did. I mean, once you are able to pick up Aghanims, I feel Enchantress becomes an actual useful hero in the mid to late game. It just always feels like that Aghanims comes so slow, or the game ends before she's able to pick it up. Like, the game is either over and she's on the winning side and she picks it up because they're picking up so much gold from taking out Raxes and towers, or it feels like she's on the losing side and she's getting crushed and she never is able to pick up Aghanims. In my opinion, it always feels like she's only useful in the very early game, and she doesn't have the heals, the global heals, and the better pushing of Chen. So that's why I'm just a much bigger fan of Chen, but I guess I'll stop railing on it because they did win the game, and they did a very good job with Enchantress last time, and we're going to see Beastmaster and Sand King now being picked up by 4-on-4. So some nice little lockdown. We have the Beastmaster, of course, with the ultimate. Great lockdown, especially on a hero like Queen of Pain, a blinking hero. You have that long-range ultimate who's able to initiate stuns, and you can follow up the Sand King ultimates as well. That's definitely a very good combo. They have a lot of team fight already. On top of that, their late game is going to be doing decently. I mean, Shadow Demon is definitely one of the best supports to scale into the late game with pretty much all of his abilities being very, very strong into the late game. And then on top of that, the aura they already have from Beastmaster, meaning their carry is going to be doing that little bit of extra damage the whole entire time for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they do end up going for that Vengeful Spirit, which I talked about before, although it doesn't really fit into their lane so much at this point. I wonder if they will actually decide to go for the Sand King Shadow Demon lane. It's kind of an old school Dota 1 pick. It's quite effective, actually, obviously, being able to, Shadow Strike, or Burrow Strike. I tried combining Shadow Demon and Burrow Strike into one thing, and it became Shadow Strike, which is actually Queen of Pain. But yeah, being able to Burrow Strike into Dispersion, into Soul Catcher, just being able to do a lot of damage to heroes and pick them off kind of from a decent range is a possibility. Or maybe we'll see the Shadow Demon side lane solo with Sand King setting up some sort of tri-lane, because the Beastmaster, well, I don't know. Actually, it was... No, it was Replika actually that ran the Beastmaster. No, it was 404 that ran the Beastmaster sacrifice lane, so maybe they will do that again. Again, that's not something I really like so much. I much prefer seeing a Beastmaster in mid, but I mean, I don't really like most heroes in sacrifice lanes other than Windrunner and something like that, so I guess I can kind of understand. At the same time, the Earthshaker's picked up. So Earthshaker's actually been a really popular pick in this series so far. Hasn't been as popular in other series that I've watched, but I mean, I guess they just know something that I don't. And Darkseer is actually still in the pool, so Replika... no, they didn't. God, now I can't even remember game one. Was it Replika that ran Darkseer?
Yeah, Replika ran Darkseer, and it did not turn out for them very well at all.
But maybe now with the Earthshaker, the Darkseer Earthshaker combo is being pretty strong. And yeah, it looks like Replika does ban out the Anti-Mage, acknowledging the possibility that 404 could still take Anti-Mage and not wanting to have to deal with that. Ricky as well, so really setting themselves up well, not to have to deal with a carry. And Vengeful Spirit actually is picked up by 404, so they are going to go for that aura stacking strategy. And now they just need probably some sort of a ranged carry, something maybe like Morphling.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of heroes. Personally, I would love to see a Dro. I haven't seen her in quite some time, and she is of course kind of classic Dota 1 with this aura stacking strategy. Very strong, but we'll have to see what's picked up, and it's not going to be Morphling because Replika is actually going to be able to pick up that hero. Very interesting. Having the Queen of Pain, and then on top of that, with the Earthshaker, Morphling. That's a pretty strong lane right off the bat. If they're going to be running at top, you have the Earthshaker babysitting the Morphling. It's very pretty much at any sort of time you're sort of in danger because Morphling is able to do so much damage, and he can kind of be fearless when he gets a couple levels with those extra bit of stats and then being able to morph stats as well. He can be sort of fearless and jump in like that, and then having Enchantress come in as well. So that tri-lane's going to be kind of tough for if Beastmaster is going to be the suicide lane. But I am actually a huge fan of Beastmaster suicide lane. Personally, I'm very much for it, but then again, that's because I always run it in scrims, and I'm always the guy who runs the Beastmaster. So maybe that's just my own bias peeking through. But we're going to see a Night Stalker being picked up, and we're not going to see that sort of hard carry that I was expecting. Night Stalker, what do you think about that, Hari?
It's a little bit unusual. It works well with the Vengeful Spirit aura, obviously, because Night Stalker has a lot of attack speed, so getting a damage percent increase from the Vengeful Spirit is quite effective, but getting more attack speed increase from the Beastmaster isn't so effective as a typical aura stacking strategy might be. Something like, as you were talking about, the Drow obviously being the most pristine example, but even a Morphling and Mirana. Obviously, Mirana's banned, which is also a little bit unusual since the Mirana VS Sand King is a really strong tri-lane, and obviously Mirana's a great ranged carry with the aura stacking. So Night Stalker is a little unusual in that regard, but I guess they just wanted him because his silence is so strong against both Morphling and Queen of Pain. Those two escape heroes really getting shut down by the Night Stalker, making it a lot easier to set up ganks. So, he's kind of a carry. He's more of a semi-carry, but he can, if he farms pretty well, he can be set up pretty effectively into the late game, which is something kind of the old Next KZ team actually used to do a lot, farming him all the way through the first night, although I doubt that's what 404 will be looking for here. I imagine it's much more likely they'll be roaming their supports, getting the Night Stalker levels, and allowing him to gank effectively on that first night against those blinking heroes.
Yeah, and I have to say, with the Death Prophet being picked up again, I really I like Replika's lineup. But I'm not really sure how I feel about 404s. I really feel that Morphling's going to be really strong in this game. I mean, even though they do have the silence, still, if he's able to get morph stats off, he's pretty much just so hard to kill. And it's really going to depend heavily on Shadow Demon, in my opinion. If Shadow Demon's able to hit that extra amplified damage on top of their lockdown abilities of Beastmaster Stun, or, like you said, the silence, it's going to take a whole lot for them to lock down on this Morphling, and I'm not really sure if it's worth it. I mean, because pretty much they're just going to be aiming for this Morphling when they try and gank. If they're able to lock him down, I feel like they're going to be spending way too much resources, and they're not going to be worrying about the Queen of Pain or the Death Prophet, both who are going to be very big factors in these team fights. On top of that, if Earthshaker is able to pick up his Blink Dagger, once they get that initiation, I feel these team fights are going to go very heavily in the favor of Replika once they get some levels and once they get their proper farm and Blink Dagger. Early on, of course, it's going to be up to 4-4 to just crush this game. Right off the start. The very first time, they're going to have to crush the lanes and gank very, very heavily in order to just secure a lead very early on and then make that lead snowball from there. Trade towers via ganking, take out the hero, hopefully take the tower, and just move on from tier 1 to tier 1 to tier 1, get all that extra gold, and then hopefully that extra gold is what puts them in enough of a lead to be able to pretty much end the game. Because I don't see this game, if it goes past 35-40 minutes, unless 4-4 has a very strong gold lead, I don't really foresee this game going their way.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch nonetheless. I mean, the lanes are going to be a little bit unusual. I mean, just in the sense that you're going to have what looks to be like an aggressive tri-lane with a Night Stalker, which I've never really seen, so we'll see exactly how that turns out. Obviously, Action's going to... Let's see if the Earthshaker and Death Prophet actually get caught. Unfortunately, the Beastmaster was first, which is kind of a poor job when you're running through in smoke like that. You always want the hero who's first in your smoke group to be someone who can, disable, stun, slow. But actually, the Shadow Demon is able to pick up dispersion on the... or disruption on the Earthshaker, but it's actually not going to be enough. So yeah, right there, if it'd been, the VS, the Shadow Demon, even the Night Stalker or the Sand King in front, they would have been able to have a little bit more of effective engagement on that Death Prophet or Earthshaker, although the Fisher might have been enough to say it. And actually, I guess now I was wrong. I thought it would be the Shadow Demon heading bottom, but it looks like actually they're going to... I don't really know exactly what they're doing. I guess they're going to have these two ranged heroes being able to roam through the jungle and kind of shut down the Enchantress from farming while the Night Stalker's in the lane. I mean, I don't understand why you put the Shadow Demon in this tri-lane rather than the Sand King, especially because you're going to have Sand King. You normally only want a soul lane when he's going up against a melee, much less likely against Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain in a side lane like this, yeah, it's just going to harass the crap out of... I don't really know if we're supposed to cuss or not, but I would say harass the shit out of this Sand King using Shadow Strike. As you were talking about before, it just makes it so difficult to lane against. I mean, he got the shield, which is going to prevent some harassment, but if you just look at this, he's already at half health. So, I don't know. I feel like it would have been much better for them. I mean, Sand King would be fine in the tri-lane, and Shadow Demon would have an excellent matchup against the Queen of Pain in the side lane. So, a little bit unusual in the fact that they would set up the lanes this way, I think.
Yeah, don't worry about cussing, because I think I've sort of set the bar already for our channel in the cussing. They're going to do a little bit of damage to this Morphling, but of course, with Waveform, he's going to be able to get out. But that harassment is pretty big, because 140 mana of 234, he's not going to be able to Waveform for quite a little bit, and because he has no mana regen, he's not going to be able to just keep going into lane and then heal up and then come back in the lane again. He's going to have to play scared every single time until Enchantress starts coming forward. And he has to be able to have that waveform to be able to be aggressive when the Enchantress comes in. So,
quick aside, huge misplay actually from the Beastmaster. He'd saved 300 gold to go bottle first. He sent himself the bottle on the courier, but he sent it to himself basically while he was on the opposing hill, and the Death Prophet actually just attacked it once and managed to snipe the Radiant Courier. So the Radiant Courier is down, and that's going to give the Dire a nice gold boost as well as disabling that. So yeah, quite the misplace from the Beastmaster.
I completely missed him. That is so huge. I mean, half the time, I would rather see the courier. I would rather kill the courier than kill a hero.
Agreed, 100%.
Most of the time, it's so much gold, especially early on. But at least he's going to be able to benefit from his bottle and be able to pick up this invis before Death Prophet, and that's going to be very helpful because in this lane, pretty much he's depending on being able to spam axes to both do harassment and get some CS. He's going to have a very hard time due to the natural ability of Death Prophet just to be able to both harass and pick up CS, spamming wave, it's not called wave anymore, it's called Crypt Swarm. Oh, that's lovely. That's the first time I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Just another name to try and change in your head.
Not one of the worst. I think we've already established, or at least I had in a separate cast, that the absolute worst name change they made was Chaotic Offering as the change for the Warlock Ultimate. It's just the most ridiculous name ever.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that is pretty bad.
This one's not too much better with the Crypt Swarm. Well, because I guess was it Wave in Dota 1? Because I know Carrion Swarm was the ability from actual Warcraft 3. I don't remember actually what the Dota 1 ability was, but I mean, yeah.
I thought it was called Death Wave or something.
Death Wave,
I don't remember now. It's been a little bit too long, but we are going to see Enchantress pick up a second stun creep, so maybe they might be able to lock this down. This hero, Earthshaker, had to be able to hit the block there, but he misses out completely, and that's a huge misplay. Shadow Demon is going to get stunned at least, but unfortunately the other Minotaur stun is down. Now they're jumping in on this Morphling. He has enough for the waveform. He's morphing stats, jumping on the Vengeful Spirit. Great job, not backing down whatsoever, knowing exactly how you can play Morphling. Really well done. I think that was I thought at first that was not going to go their way whatsoever with Earthshaker missing the block there. If he just blocked off that Night Stalker, he would have completely surrounded by Minotaurs, and easy pick up kill there. But really great job by RMC, recognizing that he can keep going. He is Morphling. Those early stats is just so huge, and it combined with the mana issues that he had. I was really hoping that I would see 404 just keep on trying to spam onto this Morphling, because the biggest problem with Morphling in lane is the fact that he has huge mana problems. If you make him use waveform to escape, he has no offensive abilities whatsoever, because he's not going to have another waveform. On top of that, his defensive abilities is very, very hurt, because he only has basically Morph from there on out, and just being able to try and walk away. And once that mana is gone, then he's just pretty much screwed. So if they just, I don't know, if I felt like if they kept spamming him early on, they wouldn't have had that problem of Enchantress getting aggressive and being able to pick up the kill. But hopefully they'll be able to turn this tri-lane back around. Meanwhile, let's go over the CS at bottom. Of course, Sand King getting kind of ruined. 5-0, while the Krayesh is 25-13. So that just goes to show you how that lane is going. She's a full level ahead of him purely through denies. That's just how that whole 1v1 is going, and I completely agree. I think having the Sand King solo bottom versus the Queen of Pain, I don't know if they just didn't expect Queen of Pain to be soloing bottom in the suicide lane or what. If they expected, I don't know what they were thinking, but definitely does not going very well for Sand King. But maybe if he gets a couple levels, maybe he'll be able to turn around like TC does with his Sand King. Unfortunately, meanwhile, middle is getting mobbed down with the Enchantress and Death Prophet. And they're now just manning up this tower via heal and just auto-attacking this tower down. It's going to go down. So that's a huge spot for all the gold. Replika is being able to free farm relatively easily in middle due to the fact there's not going to be a teleport in for the Night Stalker. He's not going to be able to teleport in during this nighttime and just gank on this Death Prophet. He's going to be able to, he's going to have to run his way around. And I don't know, with him being level 4, he's just going to have to farm through this first nighttime, and I think that's going to be a huge mistake by 404. I think if they had him middle, and at least being able to get the CS and a little bit of CS, and the experience mainly, the solo experience, this first nighttime he'd be able to make back his gold and hero kills at least, and put a lot more pressure than what is going to happen now, which is him pretty much staying in his lane, CSing his way through the first night, and not really being able to get aggressive until the...
Speaking of aggressive, actually, there is going to be a gank coming bottom. The Sand King stun's going to set it up. The axes are not going to do quite enough damage, but actually the Beastmaster is able to come in and get one more last hit, which is able to... Well, actually, the creep split the kill, but they are able to pick up the Queen of Pain bottom, so that's going to make up a little bit for the Sand King losing that lane bottom. Sorry, finish what you were saying?
No, absolutely, and really... 404 proving me a little bit wrong there. I mean, if they can get as aggressive with the Beastmaster as you do with the Night Stalker during the first night, then that's completely okay. You know, optimizing the Beastmaster stun and just being able to gank pretty much every 60 seconds with that ultimate. If they do that correctly, then that's completely fine, and I just put my foot in my mouth pretty much. But if they don't do that, then I think it's a big mistake. Night Stalker solo mid is so strong, and he's able to get so aggressive for so long. But it's all up to the Beastmaster right now. This first 10 minutes is going to be all about him and how he's able to perform his ganks. If he's able to really able to spy out when he can gank bottom or when he can go and gank that shrine lane. Because right now, Sand King is just having such a huge problem. That gank was very needed, but at the same time, as soon as Queen of Pain comes back, it's not like that gank put him back on even footing with Queen of Pain. He's now just gonna be chased out of lane just like always, and Beastmaster isn't ready to gank again. So it's going back to the same old thing where Death Prophet's gonna be farming middle, Queen of Pain's gonna be farming bottom, and Morphe's gonna be at least being neutral up at top, just really biding their time, playing conservatively, and as long as they don't die or get ganked, they're pretty much winning the lane at this point.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to point out a little while ago that the Beastmaster actually did quite effectively. Unfortunately, there's going to be maybe gank up top, so I'm not going to have time. No. So basically what he did for the 4-minute rune is he guessed top by heading up there a few seconds early, but he actually sent his boar to the bottom rune. And the rune actually ended up spawning bottom, so he just immediately killed it with his boar, which was a really neat play, basically guaranteeing himself that he would be able to get the rune there. And speaking of guaranteeing himself, he's actually going to run in from behind and actually managed to get the ult off on this Earthshaker. The nuke should come out from the Nightstalker. Nightstalker actually taking a lot of damage from the tower. His nuke not quite doing enough damage. Unfortunately, the waveform just barely misses the Nightstalker. Morphling didn't quite send it far enough, and now that Morphling is actually going to be in a bad spot, he's going to morph stats, but he's going to need TPs from his team to come in at some point here if he wants to do something about this. Meanwhile, though, his team is kind of busy bottom. Death Prophet does TP in with a haste rune, so hopefully we'll be able to bring enough backup. Yeah, and the Earthshaker is here now as well, so they're able to pick up first the Shadow Demon, the wave, the Crypt Swarm actually missing the Nightstalker the first time, but is going to head further in there, and this next wave should be enough. Nightstalker does have a TP, but he's missing the mana. He's going to be able to TP just now, and actually, unfortunately, yeah, they have not located him, so he's going to get out just fine. I guess, yeah, we know the Beastmaster is on his team, so the Hawk didn't need to spy him. But yeah, so I was just really impressed by that play by the Beastmaster of controlling the runes between himself and his boar. Just guessing a couple seconds early. Also, he could afford to do that because he had opted not to go for any points in Inner Beast. Typically, you see at least 1 point in Inner Beast when you're in the mid, because with that aura, you're going to let the creeps attack faster, which is going to instinctively or naturally push the lane, or passively, not instinctively. Doesn't make any sense. But since he knew he was up against Death Prophet, he knows there's really no chance he's going to have that lane pushed in time for the rune anyway, because she can so easily nuke the wave, even more effectively than he can, with much shorter cooldown than his axes and more mana to spam it. So he just kind of sacrificed the fact that he wasn't going to be able to push the lane and get the rune that way, and just used a more effective tactic, or more effective in this regard tactic of splitting up his guess on the rune, which was certainly nice to see. And speaking of nice to see, what is not nice to see actually is a 5,000 gold difference on the gold graph. In a 2-2 game, unfortunately, 2 towers taken by their Dire and none for the Radiant, as well as, I guess, just better farming situations have kind of led to an unfavorable situation. Although Nightstalker actually might be able to pick up a kill on this Earthshaker. The silence is going to go out, but the Earthshaker is going to have his stun in time, and we'll see if it's going to be enough. The nuke is going to be up. Oh, the axes flying actually are able to pick up the kill. Morphling missing a waveform again, actually, and Shadow Demon going to come in from behind here, just disruptioning up the Morphling. Morphling is actually kind of stuck in a bad spot now, and actually is just completely trapped up against the trees. Tried to turn and fight with Morphon, but it wasn't enough, and actually that's going to be 3 kills for the Radiant, so that's going to turn around that unfortunate gold difference at least a little bit.
Yeah, something I noticed, first of all, as a Morphling, you'd never, as any hero, especially if you don't have your escape mechanism up, you don't want to stand next to any natural barrier with the Shadow Demon, because chances are you're going to get blocked in by the own illusions when you come back up, and that's just so devastating. But I really feel Cryasia really needed to come in here earlier. He's jumping in on the Sand King. They just need a little bit more damage. Unfortunately, the poison is only level 1, so not going to be able to pick up that Minotaur actually hitting this stun. Auto attacks, there it goes. Poor Nightstalker misses out on the deny. He tried to deny him, but level 1, what was it, 30 damage over time from Shadow Strike, was able to snipe that kill away from him. Really unfortunate in that regard. But I was just about saying Cryasia really needed to be able to come into these fights a little bit earlier, I feel. Being up against Sand King, first of all, he's going to be dominating his lane, but he didn't dominate it as hard as he could have by not getting at least a second level in Shadow Strike. What's common when you see Queen of Pain 1v1 is what you do is you get 2 or 3 levels of Shadow Strike, and it pretty much dominates the lane. Actually, middle. Death Prophet's going to get gone on here. Beastmaster with the ultimate, and they're easy. Oh, huge Earthshaker block off, and that's going to completely save the Death Prophet. What a huge turnaround by this Earthshaker. Great break off. Block off. Fire Shaker. Well done all around.
Unfortunately, the Enchantress actually gave up just a little bit too soon on trying to kill the Nightstalker. I thought the 1 impetus would be enough, but it was just barely not enough damage, and the Nightstalker actually lived. We're going to have a pause now. Sorry, what were you about to say?
I was about to talk about the Queen of Pain. Okay, maxing out Scream, which is okay. You're going to be able to farm and push the lane faster, and if you're able to do some harassment onto the tower, that's fine, because versus a Sand King, you're not going to be able to really do a whole lot. So Just that whole Earthshaker thing completely threw me out. Anyway, Shadow Strike, harassing, better. But at the same time, if you're going to go for the screen build, it's a much better build for team fights. So if he was going to do that, he really needed to be able to come in earlier and teleport to top before that tier 1 tower went in and try and get ganks off with the scream, because it's a much better ganking mechanism versus tri-lanes. You teleport in, you go in, you hit this huge nuke, hopefully hitting at least 2 heroes, maybe 3. And that just completely turns the fight, and you're able to wipe out this tri-lane, hopefully. I was saying, I really think that Krays just should have been able to come in sooner and really gank that tri-lane faster and not let the tier 1 tower go down if he's going to go for the screen build. But I don't know. What are we talking about here? I wasn't really paying attention to the chat.
Just whether the finals would be today or not. I guess it turns out maybe the finals is not going to be today, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. We'll see for certain. I guess later on when the admin's in here, because I mean these are just players, and I guess they're not 100% certain. And then we'll be able to let the viewers know whether we will be streaming the finals today or at some other point. That would be a little interesting to have just the semifinals on one day for such a small tournament, but I mean, I guess it's up to the tournament admins to decide. I mean, they're the ones who are investing the time in running this. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Generally, with the Queen of Pain on a side lane, well, first of all, usually when you sacrifice lane a Queen of Pain, you don't expect her to gain levels that quickly. So you're kind of just hoping that eventually she can get level 6 or 7, she can come get a gank off with her ultimate in the 4 levels in Scream, which is why you would go max Scream early, because you're not going to have the levels to spare. But in a lane like this that you were talking about, where she really is just dominating the lane, has such an easy time farming and getting levels, you would definitely expect to see at least 2 levels, if not 3 in Shadow Strike, if she is going to stay and farm the lane so much. But as was pointed out, or as we kind of saw, they didn't have a very easy time with their top lane. So I think going the Scream of Pain build was fine, but I think it would have been a lot better if she had ganked, just like you said. So I don't know. Just, yeah, you've kind of got to coordinate the build you go and how you actually play the hero, which is something that sometimes people just don't do very effectively. But Morphling actually didn't farm very well at all in that lane. I want to take a look at CS now, I guess, while we have this pause. Yeah, Morphling sitting at only 24 CS, which is really not good. I mean, if you compare it to the Queen of Pain, who has almost 3 times as many creep kills from that solo lane. So Morphling is really going to have to pick up his farm. Unfortunately, Morphling is a hero. Well, actually, I don't like this hero for kind of similar reasons that you don't like Enchantress, which is that Enchantress is only good in the very beginning and much, much later on, which is basically the same as Morphling. Morphling is very good early on, because, you know, his waveform does a good amount of damage, and it doesn't require any items, and obviously then, you know, with being able to morph into strength, he can dive really aggressively, much earlier than other heroes, you know, dive towers and things like this. So he has a nice advantage early on to get kills. And then basically he completely drops off in the mid game because he really doesn't deal any damage. Adaptive Strike requires stats. Morph doesn't actually really give you damage. It's mostly just survivability. It's good for pushing, but ever since he can't replicate himself and make an additional copy, he's not that effective of a pusher anyway. So, I mean, he really just needs to pick up at least 2 core items, usually Linken's and Manta, or Linken's Ethereal Blade or Manta Ethereal Blade, something like this. Basically 2 core items before he can really come on and do anything. And unfortunately in a game like this where he's gotten such poor farm, he's really going to have a tough time actually factoring into this next stage of the game, which is actually going to be much more important for, I guess, the Death Prophet and the Queen of Pain to really set the tone for the rest of their team.
All right. Well, hopefully we're going to see it unpause now, and going over the items real quick. Yeah, like you said, Morphling obviously did not CS very well. I mean, he was pretty much 2v3 lane, and especially given they lost the tower and that team fight, he's especially now really hurting. But other than that, both middle and bottom are obviously CSing very well, 64 and 20 and 52 and 7, and their respective partners, the Beastmaster, who has been ganking around, is only 40 and 6, 42 and 6 actually, but that's mainly because he was ganking around. But of course bottom is 24 and 2. This poor Sand King has just gotten wrecked, but he is being able to earn up a little bit of free farm right now. Queen of Pain is gonna be she's not gonna be pushing that aggressively, and I really think this is her time to shine. Like we've said over and over, maxing that Scream of Pain build. If you're gonna do that, let's see some early team fights, and I think that's exactly what she's going to be doing right now. They're going to be able to push in now that Death Prophet does have a level into Exorcism, and hopefully they're going to group up here while it is daytime and take out the top tier 1 tower. I think really if they take that tower, I think that's going to be enough before nighttime. I think they just take all the tier 1 towers away, and use that time then to farm the jungle, farm the lanes, and just pretty much stay safe. For nighttime, I think they're golden. I just really think they just need to take that top tier 1 before nighttime comes back up.
Yeah, that would be pretty important for them. Actually, there's one other thing. The Sand King actually opted to go for Tranquil Boots. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, I'm going to say this. Tranquil Boots, I think, are very underrated. I think a lot of people aren't going for it, but on Sand King, no. Unless he's planning on, unless he thought for some reason that he was so far out of lane that he's going to be forced to jungle, that's the only time where I can really see Tranquil Boots being a good item on Sand King. It's just because you're able to use that heal through neutrals, and if you're being forced pretty much out of lane and you have to go jungle, I guess that's one way of earning farm. You can also disassemble them. You weren't able to at first when they first came in. But you can now. You're able to disassemble them, and then he can go for a mana boots. And maybe that's what he'll do. Maybe he just got them early, and he's going to transform it, but he's actually going to jump in. The Night Stalker throws Night. They're going to be able to throw the Silence on Queen of Pain. Maybe she's going to go down here. They need one more good nuke, but the Earthshaker comes with the ultimate, but it's not enough. Queen of Pain goes down anyway, and they're just going to run away, picking up that one kill. Death Prophet now teleporting in with her phase boots. But she's not going to be able to pick off anybody. She could have just kept running over, and if she had any sort of teammate, might have been able to pick up one of the heroes who went around the tower. But looks like Sand King and Beastmaster are both going to jump back in on this. They might be able to throw an ult here. Beastmaster looking for the ult. Is going to pop on the Enchantress. The Enchantress sitting there all by herself. She's easily going to go down. Sand King hitting a huge double stun, and now we're going to see the Epicenter go off. Death Prophet, though, is extremely tanky. And on top of the movement speed from Boost, she's going to be just fine. And it looks like that's going to be all. They are going to be able to pressure this tower a little bit, but teleports in as well now. The Queen of Pain is going to be able to put a stop to any hopes at pushing. But all that team fight went on, and they were able to pick up a couple of heroes the whole entire time, though. Morphling's been free farming, and that's great for them. Even if they lose a hero, Morphling free farming, like you said, it's very important for him to get those 2 key items. In my opinion, I think Linken's isn't really a good item, just because, like you stated, Morphling is one of those heroes who isn't really good in the mid game. And I think Linken's delays that even further. It's a nice little item on him, but right now I feel it's just way too expensive to get on a Morphling, and I think it delays his damage way too much. But we'll have to see what he goes for here. And if his team can just fight 4-on-5 for the rest of this time, they didn't take a tier 1 like I was hoping, and Nighttime's going to come up very shortly here. Should be up by like the 1830 mark. That's going to come up, and they're not really going to be able to push until at least the 25-minute mark. And I was really hoping they would just be able to take that one extra tower, give them a little bit more map awareness, a little bit more map control, and then on top of that, a little bit more influx of gold to help them survive the next nighttime. But Night Stalker is only level 8. He's actually getting chased down here by the Enchantress with the slow. Now the Morph coming in. He doesn't unfortunately have a level of his nuke. He can't hit anything else. And so Night Stalker's pretty much just going to be able to walk away, but taking a lot of hit, he's going to have to back out, heal up, in order to be ready for the next nighttime.
I didn't notice, actually. Was the Enchantress using Impetus in the beginning there? I'm not positive that she was when she actually first started attacking the Night Stalker. So that might have been a factor in why he got away there. I can't remember exactly, but it seemed like her attacks were just regular. But yeah, well, I don't know. Generally, I don't like Linken's on Morphling. I understand why people get it, because they just love basically the regen from the Perseverance, helping you farm so much more, since his farm does require spamming mana or spamming waveform is basically as much as possible to go quickly. And he is going Perseverance, so it looks like he will be going to Linken's. In this game, however, I think Linken's is a good choice. I mean, if you look at all the single target disables on the Radiant, being able to avoid that Beastmaster stun, which is basically death for Morphling, being able to prevent a silence from the Night Stalker, or swap or stun from the Vengeful Spirit, disruption from the Shadow Demon. I mean, obviously it's not going to prevent all of these, but basically any one of these, stopping it in the first place so that he can get in better position rather than allowing them to initiate on him with that, is going to be a pretty big game for him. So I think it's all right in this instance. But actually, speaking of initiation, Night Stalker trying to come in here.
pops Knight to try to go on someone, is going to get the silence up on the Enchantress, which is going to mean the Enchantress can't pop or heal. But actually, TPs are going to come in. It looks like they're going to turn this back around. Queen of Pain has a very timely double damage. The Purge is going to come out on her from the Shadow Demon, though, so that's going to get rid of the double damage. Meanwhile, though, the Enchantress is just killing bitches with this Impetus. Actually using Impetus this time, and it's going to do a lot of damage to this fleeing Night Stalker. Oh, Queen of Pain! Oh, missing the ult completely. It is daytime, though, actually, so Night Stalker's not going to be able to keep running so effectively. Death Prophet throws out one attack to get rid of the Urn Charge, but Night Stalker is going to make it away just fine with Phase Boots, and yeah, that's going to be that. But yeah, I don't know. Good team fight regardless for the Dire. Nice TPs there instantaneously this time, defending themselves. I mean, the Radiant just going a little bit too aggressive, really being concerned with how well this Morphling is going to be farming top. He's basically just been sitting with essentially creep equilibrium in the lane for a while. And actually, speaking of being too aggressive, the Beastmaster is in here all by himself. He doesn't even have wards. I'm not really sure what exactly he's trying to do. I think the Enchantress thinks he's an illusion, but after hitting him twice, realizes, no, this is the real thing, and we're just going to kill him. Because he's up here for no real reason. Wow, is he actually going to make it out here? Only one more Impetus will be enough. The Adaptive Strike trying to slow him down, but the Enchantress getting blocked by the Morphling. Morphling will have Waveform in 1 second, but it is going to get Disruption. You know, the Enchantress is just going to go on the Shadow Demon. Morphling, does Waveform through and is going to take out the Shadow Demon. Meanwhile, Beastmaster has made it out, does not have Roar, so he will not be turning back around, and that's going to be a kill anyway. Shadow Demon paying for the Beastmaster's folly. Still don't know exactly what he was doing up there, but yeah, and actually looks like the Dire is going to go for mass Linken's. Linken's looks like it's going to be coming up for the Queen of Pain as well. I doubt she's going to be going for a Bloodstone. You know, again, like I was talking about, there's just so many single target disables from the Radiant that it's really important to be able to dodge the first one and then position yourself better through being able to blink. Because just having that extra second to react is such a big difference.
Okay, so I was just about to say, when you first started your original talk about Linken's, and you started out, well, I don't really like Linken's very much, I was gonna complain. I was like, damn it, Hari, this is why we don't cast very well together, is because we're too in sync. Earthshaker's actually gonna get caught out here, and easily getting locked down, trying to throw some sort of protection for his Morphling, getting a laning ward in. But at the very least, he's able to spy out the incoming gank. So, you know, he sacrifices himself in order to get a ward down, and Morphling also knows that now Night Stalker and Beastmaster are top. But going back to that, I don't know, I just really feel that Manta would have been so much stronger on Morphling, because it gives him that extra damage, and on top of that, he's going to be able to dodge pretty much everything except for the Beastmaster stun, and I think as long as he's just has the right positioning, I think he would have been fine. On top of that,
Queen of Pain
jumping in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Sand King trying to hit an initiation, but Morphling is now coming in, but trying to help save the Queen of Pain, but she's actually just fine. I actually disagree with Linken's on both accounts. A Queen of Pain I think is a little bit better, but I think if she just went for that staff and the amazing amount of damage and cooldown reduction that it gives on that, I think that's going to be, I think that would give a much better team fight potential to them and be much more helpful. And I think really if they just played it correctly, if they just fought around daytime and just avoided the nighttime. But as it stands right now, of course, nighttime silence on Queen of Pain is a huge factor, and until she picks up that Linken, she can't really aggressive at all during this nighttime. Sand King actually now picking up the blink target, is going to be able to easily kill Earthshaker. One more hit and there he goes. So nice little pick off here. Now they're 5 mid. They're going to be able to take this tier 1 tower with the nighttime buff. Very well done by 404.
Yeah, I just remembered the Tranquil Boots that he has again, and that actually did that was something I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I agree with you that I think Tranquil Boots are extremely underrated. I think one thing that people really don't recognize about them is how much movement speed they actually give. I mean, that 80 movement
Fucking
speed is just insane.
Stop it.
But yeah, so I think people are too focused on the heal. However, in Sand King's case, I really don't agree with it too much. I know some people, like on Earthshaker or Sand King, like to go with Tranquil Boots and Soul Ring to get that mana regen instead of going the Arcanes, but I don't know, I think that's silly. I mean, part of the thing about the Arcanes is that you give your team mana as well, so it's just really not such a good build, I don't think. But yeah, in general, I would like to see it, as you were talking about, the key thing is that you can disassemble it. So, like, early on, you can get that extra move speed, and then you can, in theory, you know, I mean, the Ring of Regen isn't irrelevant. You can usually make it into a mech on a support hero who might need that. Sand King, however, is not someone who can make a mech, so I think that's one of the strikes against getting it on him. The other is that, yeah, he doesn't have any mana regen now. I mean, he really, like, look at him, he's just sitting in the mid, and this is a time where he could be using mana boots to get back up and hang around more. But now he's going to be in a situation where if he doesn't go back to base, he's not going to have enough mana to blink Epicenter or ult. Or Epicenter Burrow Strike, and if he does go back to base, he's just wasting time that I mean, yeah, sure, he has the 80 movement speed, so he gets back to base a little bit faster and can regen up, but in his case, I don't really think that's so good. Maybe on something like Vengeful Spirit, who, as you can see, is still just sitting on regular boots, just to, I mean, the upgrade to the Tranquil Boots for something like Vengeful Spirit really isn't that expensive, and to get that extra movement speed, especially on Vengeful Spirit, who, you know, wants to run in and get swap initiation sometimes, would be much more ideal, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, even Shadow Demon doesn't have mana boots either, and I think that's a really big mistake, especially if he's going for the poison build, which isn't typical as a support. Typically, if you want to get a poison, you get level 1. But actually, Sankey's going to blink it in here, jumping on the Queen of Pain, who was a little bit out of position, and now with the silence, can they mob her down? No! Oh, there it goes. The Shadow Demon Purge goes off as she blinks away to safety, but Purge goes off anyway. Now Morphling is coming in, but the speed coming out is just too much, and now Death Prophet ult is down, not really doing a whole lot there. So picking up the Queen of Pain, but at the very least they do defend the bottom tier 1 tower, and Beastmaster versus Enchantress at top. It's just actually weird to see teleports in, mass teleports, and the ultimate from Beastmaster is going to lead the way, and Enchantress is getting way caught out. Cannot try and push those towers very heavily. I guess she was thinking that there was so much action going on at bottom, she was going to try and push down a tier 1 tower, but that really with Beastmaster there automatically setting up a very long range, long duration stun comboed with teleports, you just really can't put yourself out like that. And it looks like 404 might have the opportunity to come back in now. It is nighttime with double damage on Night Stalker. He's going to be able to just run around. The biggest problem is they have is mana. And that goes right back to what we were talking about with Shadow Demon and Sand King. They really need to keep ganking, and mana is a huge problem. If they're just able to keep spamming their nukes and keep jumping on these heroes, they're fine. But unfortunately, they don't have the ability to regen the mana. On top of that, Shadow Demon not maxing out Soul Catcher first and an all nuke-based build, I think is a huge mistake. I think you're missing out on so much damage. You're just able to pop heroes if you use Soul Catcher correctly. On top of that, typically the build is you go 1-4-1 Disruption, just being a nice little setup for other stuns, and then 1 level Poison if you want is nice just for the added lane advantage, pretty much just being able to spam that at level 1 is, or at level 2 is just so devastating. So much action going down. Enchantress was getting caught out by Notstalker, but she has her whole entire team plus a heal, so she's going to be just fine.
Yeah. And the Shadow Poison.
Shadow Demon, the build. What do you think, Ari?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the reason, also that you get the 1 point in the Shadow Poison sometimes. I mean, some people, as you were talking about, even forego it, just going maxing Soul Catcher into Disruption. But the 1 point also for Vision, because I mean, it does give Vision, which isn't irrelevant when you're playing as a support. I mean, helps maybe counter warding or just seeing, when you're in tri-lane versus dual lane plus jungle, being able to see into the jungle or past trees is certainly helpful. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I would have maxed Soul Catcher first, Disruption second, which is the typical support build. The only time you're really maxing Shadow Poison first on Shadow Demon is when you are solo lane. Looks like a little action going to be going on here. Queen of Pain silenced up, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, wait, the follow-up is going to fall just in time. She's going to be able to blink out. Wow, is she going to just deny herself on Roche? But interestingly enough, the Urn Charge actually got the kill. I'm not sure if it just gave credit to the Urn Charge or not. Beastmaster ult is actually still up, so there's a possibility they could go on the Morphling here, but there's no way he can lead with the ult because of the Lincolns. Actually just going to decide to go for the Earthshaker instead, acknowledging that they can't really kill the Morphling. Morphling tries to stall them back with the Adaptive Strike, but the Earthshaker is still going to go down, so it's just some nice movement and ganking from the Radiant here. I thought the Queen of Pain would easily get out there. The silence wore off just in time when I thought she'd be able to blink, but I guess she just didn't see the Vengeful Spirit coming around on the other side, and that was the difference. Again, if she had her Lincolns up, maybe she would have been fine, although, I mean, I guess the Lincolns would have already been burned, so not that big of a difference. But unfortunately, they lose their Tier 2 tower now. They had taken the tower advantage early on, but actually starting to lose towers. Just good movement from the Radiant, getting good ganks off, and the Aghanim Scepter is actually almost up on this Night Stalker. Unfortunately, it's almost up right before daylight, and he's only level 13, so he isn't able to keep Night up thanks to his ultimate. And actually, his ultimate was off cooldown there, and I haven't really been paying too much attention, but has he been spamming his ultimate like he's supposed to in the night, or not really?
I have noticed a couple times that he has, but I agree. It does feel like maybe it was just because he was under level early on. It feels like the Knights haven't been lasting as long, and he hasn't been spamming the ult. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just because he was under leveled, or maybe he actually has been missing out on a couple key spam of darkness. If you guys don't know, basically when it's nighttime, you're supposed to spam your ultimate every single time it's up, because what happens is it pauses the whole day cycle. Pretty much it stays at that time during the 30 seconds that nighttime is up, and so that's an actual 30 seconds of nighttime, which can be key. I mean, if daytime runs out right as you're about to go in for a gank, that's just can completely destroy you, and so those little extra moves like that can be crucial. But it looks like they're going to be able to push in bottom. The tier 1 tower is very low. Death Prophet is set up to try and defend, but the rest of the team isn't really there. It looks like they might just try and take top tier 1 for that, which I think really isn't really in their favor. I think they could have defended this, especially since it's daytime here. And the glyph goes off, and they're not even going to take tier 1. Teleports come in, and Sand King blows an ultimate, actually completely missing out on that one. Night Stalker coming in, blowing his darkness, but is he going to be able to lock down anybody? Earthshaker trying to teleport away, but he's not going to get out. The nuke provides the mini stun, and Night Stalker does at least pick up 1 kill from blowing the ultimate. So well done in that regard. He's going to keep going. He does have his Aghanims now from that, so that's going to be a lot more health and a lot more mana. On top of that, the added benefit of being able to see completely unobstructed during the nighttime is going to be very helpful, providing a lot of pressure, and that's exactly what they need right now. They really need to start trying to end the game before Morphling gets his second item. He already has the Lincoln, so they can't target him ever. But so really they just need to push in, and while Morphling has pretty much no damage. During these fights, he doesn't really have a whole lot of effect on them, mainly because the Lincoln's build, it's very, very defensive, and it pretty much all you have is your auto attacks, and that just really isn't enough, because you once somebody pops Lincolns, you have to pretty much waveform out or start morphing strength, because you're just too squishy at that point. So I think they really need to start ending the game sometime soon here, especially since we've got, going over the items, we've got Pipe on Beastmaster, you've got Aghanims and Blink on Sand King, another big pickup. We almost have Push Stick on Shadow Demon, and then also, as I said, the Aghanims on Night Stalker. Those are some very key items that they picked up. Aghanims on Night Stalker and Sand King. Really the only thing left is hitting level 16 on Sand King. That's the only thing that they should be waiting for. If they're going to wait at all, that's the only thing they should be waiting for, is having Sand King farm up, hit level 16, and his ult off cooldown, and then they have to force fights. If they don't do it right away, then that's the only thing they should be waiting for.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem here just with the timing. Morphling, that's such an aggressive look. They actually have no wards up on the map, the Dire, and Morphling is actually using waveform to farm creeps at the middle, like river. I don't know about that. I mean, I guess he has the Lincoln, so he feels pretty safe, but that's a pretty risky move.
He also has the Earthshaker back in base, the illusion, so.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, so I guess he will be fine, even if they decide to go on. Oh, no, and actually, I don't think the silence should last long enough, although he didn't get Morph off. Yeah, and then he's just going to, yeah, because it's only daylight, so the silence is just going to be 3 seconds. So, yeah, that's a good call. I didn't actually notice that.
Yeah, I was going to completely agree with you, because his ult was off cooldown, so I was like, oh, no. He's completely caught out, but I did notice that, you know, Earthshaker was back in base. I think right now Replika is doing a very good job. I mean, especially during that daytime with him having the illusion back in base. Pressing the lanes is so important as a Morphling. You really have to get really aggressive with your farm, because you need so much of it very, very quickly. On top of that, Death Prophet has been doing a very good job trying to push in bottom. A lot of times when there's other fights going on, she's just been pushing in bottom. Unfortunately, she hasn't really done a whole lot of damage to the tower yet. 404 has always been able to get a hero in front of that tower every single time before she's been able to set up an ult and start just momming down that tower, which is really unfortunate. If you're going to be trying to spend so much time side pushing like that, you really got to start getting chip on the towers fast, and there isn't a whole lot. 404 has responded very, very quickly every single time, and now they're smoked up, and if they can get a gank here, that could be the beginning of the end, because we're going to see nighttime coming out not too long here. What is it, 1 p.m. right now? And he does also have his darkness, so they can get a gank off and then just rule over the next nighttime and try and take down the tier 2s and maybe a couple tier 3s and start threatening racks. I think 404 could be in a good position, but this is the time where they really have to turn it on. And Morphling would be a great hero to gank. She does have an illusion down at bottom, the Queen of Pain illusion. The question is, can they? No, he gets out. Great job. Really great response by RMC, instantly getting away. And now that whole entire time trying to spend smoking and ganking is completely lost for 404.
Yeah, well, as I was started to bring up earlier, it was just kind of inconvenient timing for them with that Aghanims pickup. I mean, like you were saying, they really want to push in now, but they really, in theory, since they went the Aghanims, what they want is, to be able to get vision, get a gank with the Aghanims, and then turn that into a push, rather than just straight grouping up and trying to push into, Queen of Pain, Death Prophet, which is a pretty risky proposition, even though the Earthshaker doesn't have the blink yet. So that is, again, a crucial time for them to be able to push. They've got about 1,000 gold until this Earthshaker does have a blink, which is going to make forcing team fights a lot more difficult. So they just need the Knight to come as soon as humanly possible. Aghanims plus the Hawk, which basically the two of those combined is essentially a legal map hack. To see at least one of these Dire heroes caught out. They had aggressive wards up in the Dire jungle before, but those are actually down now. So they basically just have to find one, catch him out, kill him, and then turn that into a tower. But it looks like the Sand King is actually going to pressure the top tower a little bit. And with all 5 of them up here, I think they're just going to be able to take this regardless. The Dire not looking to defend it, but at the same time, the Dire has taken the bottom tower. And without using the Corobulus ult, it's probably going to be worth it. I guess a tower trade at this point. Yeah, we'll see now if the Radiant can try to push in, but I don't think they'll be able to. Even with the Sand King level 16, level 3 Epicenter and the Blink, I think it's just a little bit too risky to try to go into the base at this point without getting a pick off first. But fortunately that Knight is about to come up, and hopefully that will be enough. Morphling again in a precarious position, but it's not Knight, so there's really no way he's going to get caught, and he just waveforms and pops into his ult. So yeah, has been doing a great job of that, and actually does have his Manta up now. So unfortunately, because as we were talking about, when he needs the 2 core items, I mean, in order to deal damage, that's basically Manta plus one other thing. Like the Lincoln's is more of just, as you were saying, a defensive item. So it's not actually, he's still not going to do any damage in the team fights. It's actually going to be at least 10, probably 8 to 10 more minutes before he can seriously do damage with his next item pickup, which unfortunately in a game like this really cannot be Ethereal Blade. Ethereal Blade morph is not only very fun to watch, but it's very effective. But against this much magic damage, it's just basically a death wish, and that's probably why he has not opted to go for that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's really going to have to max out his physical damage in order to pretty much just carry as soon as possible. And like you said, banishing yourself, not really going to do a whole lot of good for you versus a whole bunch of nukes. But really think one thing that has stood out for me is Replika has done a very good job avoiding fights. I mean, you look at it, it's 14-6 right now. Obviously, there's a kill advantage to the 404 team, and that's to be expected because right now, Replika doesn't want a team fight. I mean, obviously they can win team fights, but it's not expected. The strategy should be that they're going to avoid as many team fights as possible. Sand King is actually starting his ultimate. He's going to be able to jump in from the tree. Popping heroes left and right. He pops off the Enchantress and the Earthshaker. Now it's a 3-on-5 fight right off the bat. The Pipe is trying to save Morphling and Death Prophet. Morphling is able to get it right back into the base, but the ultimate from Death Prophet needs to come back sometime soon, but it doesn't. And now the swap comes out. Maybe they get in a stun on Queen of Pain to get a 4th hero as well. Only Shadow Demon is on him though, and Queen of Pain is going to be able to blink right out though. But maybe they can be able to take on Roche and pressure the tier 3 at bottom. Unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot of time with Death Prophet Bloodstone. She was the last hero to die, and she's only 15 seconds away now. So she's going to be able to come right back. They really need to immediately go to Roshan before they try and force another fight from Replika. They're already coming back up. It's not going to be... They still have the tier 2 at bottom where they can teleport to very, very easily. The ultimate is going to be down from Earthshaker, and this could be a bad fight for 404 now. And I think they realize that, and they're going to have to back off. They don't even pick off Roshan off of that great team fight.
Yeah, just a questionable positioning from Replika in that situation there. I mean, they couldn't necessarily know that the Earthshaker was in such a great little, or the Sand King was in such a great little spot up in those trees there. But they had to know that. I mean, when you're the Radiant, well, I mean, when you're either team, but especially when you're the Radiant, and you're trying to steal a Roche basically, and you have a Beastmaster on your team. Not even to mention, oh, Morphling actually going to get silenced tonight, but he's going to be fine. Beastmaster trying to come in from the side and get an ult off, but just a lot of posturing here. But yeah, as I was saying, when you're playing against a Beastmaster and you're the Dire, the other team's the Radiant, they're trying to steal Roche, you have to know exactly where they're going to put that Hawk, basically. It's pretty much always going to be the same spot, over one of those 2 sets of trees there. So you have to know they're going to have vision of you running up like that, and if they have a Sand King who has Blink, which you've known for quite a while, you've got to expect that he's going to basically try to Blink Initiate on you when you go through that choke point there. So, I mean, I just don't get how you group up like that when you know that that's coming. I mean, even if you don't know it's coming from the trees, you know he's going to be in the Roche pit or off to the left or maybe down a little bit more, and either either way, he's going to be in a position where he can blink to that choke point because that's exactly where he wants to catch you. So, you mean, you just can't group up when you run through somewhere like that.
Radiant's top tower.
Absolutely. I think I'm gonna go ahead and label it the phenomenon that I call Roshan panic, which is pretty much. I don't think they had. I wasn't actually paying attention to the words, but I don't think they really knew how long they were in the Rosh pit or how much damage they could really do to Roshan. I think they were just sort of panicking and going, "Oh, Roshan's gonna go down soon." Which I think is a bit of a mistake. I think it doesn't even matter. I mean, obviously it will be a very nice little buff to the 404 team, but I don't think an Aegis is really going to provide that much to their team. I think as long as they keep avoiding those sort of really terrible fights like that happen, just avoid that risk altogether and just let them have the Roshan farm up like you're doing with the Queen of Pain, who's just pushing in lanes left and right. Just keep pushing the side lanes as much as possible and try and force back the lanes, force back the pressure from the towers and for as long as possible, and you're going to see Morphling coming in and clean up heroes in no time. And it doesn't matter if they can revive again because Morphling's just going to crush them all over again. So they are going to see a Roshan, and maybe they're going to try and fight it again. I mean, the double damage on Beastmaster. Once again, 404, very, very aware. They do have great wards up. Earthshaker now blinking in. A blind blink completely misses out everything, and now Night Stalker's going to mob him down easily. A Necronomicon coming in, and another huge ultimate from Sand King combined with the Veil, and the ultimate comes out from Death Prophet. Doesn't do anything. Huge mistake. RMC potentially going to get caught out here. He doesn't have an damage to teleport to. Lincoln is down, and they're just going to crush him. There he goes. 3 heroes down. On top of that, they don't even have to worry about Roshan now. It doesn't matter. They don't need an Aegis when 3 heroes are dead, and that's exactly what happens. You just can't get that Roshan panic and worry about them. Oh, Swamp coming out, and Enchantress is now going to go down. Dude, you cannot get close to the tower like that. Queen of Pain throws an ultimate that hits a Beastmaster. So that's down, and she doesn't have the Aghanims, so she just can't throw it on creeps like that. She has to use it very well for teamfights. Coming in, Lincoln's completely saving the Queen of Pain right there, and now Sand King's gonna go down to go Dolomite from Earthshaker, and missing out on the ultimate, and Roshan has completely turned down that fight because Earthshaker bringing back Replika with a huge team fight. Popping up 3 heroes easily. We're going to see buybacks coming out from Sand King and Shadow Team, and Night Stalker has to run away here. And I think 404 is just going to force another fight here. They had the buyback money from a great team fight, a couple team fights earlier. They can't really let Replika pick up a Roshan because that's legitimate Roshan panic. When you have Aegis on top of your Morphling, that's huge. Queen of Pain taking a little bit of damage, but she now has a sheep stick. But the question is, can she get out? She needs a blink. Veil Discord going off, but she's easily going to get off with a silence coming out. Beastmaster does hit an ultimate. She didn't try and blink away at all. She tried to turn around a little bit and do a bit of damage instead of just instantly the moment she came back up, teleporting away. And that was a huge mistake. Beastmaster cleaning up the kill, and now with the level 3 Necronomicon, they might be able to force another Roshan fight here. It's going to be a 4-on-5, and I think Replika just needs to learn from their past mistakes and just give it up. Especially 4-on-5, they can't force this fight. Go push the side lanes. That's the only option, is getting more farm.
I actually almost, I mean, I basically was to myself, but I almost actually just started laughing on the cast when I saw them do the exact same thing this time, where they basically grouped up in that exact same spot. It was only 3 of them this time, but still, letting 3 of your heroes get hit by the epicenter. It almost seemed like they thought they were one step ahead of it, because they were like, it's okay, we've got pipe. We're just going to pop this pipe as we run through this choke together, and everything will be fine, because it doesn't really matter if we get hit with an epicenter, as long as we have our pipe up, right? Wrong. Especially when the opposing team has Veil of Discord, which was very well placed, pretty much counters that pipe completely. But still, I just don't understand how you could possibly make that same mistake again, no more than like a couple minutes later. I mean, I don't know. Fool me once, shame on... Yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And Earthshaker is actually going to get caught trying to TP once again in vision of that Hawk. Looks like he's actually going to make it out here. Not able to finish up, the Sand King was, but did at least cancel that TP. So, I don't know. I mean... Oh, do you want to say something?
Oh, no, well, I was actually just going to comment on the fact that earlier I kind of said, you know, if they push past this game, past 35, 40 minutes, unless they have a big lead, you know, the game's going to go in the way of Replika. And the huge lead is there. They have a 5,000 gold lead, but they have the big items that they need. They have a Necronomicon level 3. And then on top of that, Assault Cuirass is going to go up. Replika can easily still win this, and the farther it goes into late game, it's going to go much better. But the fact that they have items like picking up Assault Kira soon on Night Stalker is going to be huge, because that's a lot of damage that he's going to be able to negate both for himself and the rest of his team against a Morphling who's going to be going pure attack damage. And he doesn't have very much at this point. He's hitting for about 200 a hit right now, combined with illusions. But still, those illusions are going to get mobbed down probably just purely from AoE, from Sand King and Beastmaster. And so really it's just him hitting 200 a hit. That's not really enough right now. And I really think in order to pay off, in order to really be effective right now, you really need to go a more offensive build. But maybe with a smoke coming out from Replika, maybe they can pick someone off here. 4 of them are smoke. Morphling's going to be pretty much farming. Actually, he doesn't have an illusion of one of his allies on top of that. He really should have an illusion with them and just be farming and then just teleport to the illusion once they try and pick off somebody. They're going to throw down wards and stuff and just try and get some sort of positioning here. But really right now, 4-4 is very well grouped up.
Well, and the truth is, you really can't smoke gank a Night Stalker with Aghanims. It really is not going to work out well. So they're just going to have to come here and defend, which is hopefully going to go well for them, and we'll get to see them prolong this game a little bit longer. The tower is just going to go down. The Night Stalker just running up there and taking it out with his Aghanims. Enchantress actually getting silenced in the back. Morphling just right-clicking down this Night Stalker, but Night Stalker does have the Aegis, so he's perfectly fine with dying, and the Epicenter is going to come out. Epicenter not hitting a ton this time. Unfortunately, Death Prophet, it looks like, is going to go down a little bit too quickly. Her ult not able to do enough damage. The Impetus coming out from behind with the Enchantress, able to take down the Sand King, but Death Prophet and Earthshaker are both down now, and it looks like the Morphling is going to go as well, morphing back into strength, but unfortunately he was already at a lot of agility to try to increase his right-click damage, and so even by the time he dies, he actually still doesn't have a ton of strength, and no buybacks for the Dire. It looks like there's going to be at least 1 Rax going down, if not 2.
And you know what completely changed this fight is it didn't give away as much gold, first of all. And then on top of that, they would have had more buybacks, and we're going to see buyback at least from the Morphling coming in. They're going to save at least a second Rax. They were trying to save the buyback just to, they knew the bottom Rax were going to go down. Maybe they'll be able to pick up a hero at least. Shadow Demon's going to go down, but Night Stalker's easily going to be able to get away, especially with that Assault Curious he has now. So they are 1 Rax down. And they can easily still come back from this, but it's going to be an uphill battle. It's pretty much just going to be a slow fight. Queen of Pain still chasing this Night Stalker, and I just don't foresee him being able to kill him anytime soon, especially not with Aghanims. I know he has Sheep Stick, but still, that doesn't really negate the movement speed, the huge amount of movement speed that Night Stalker had. He's going to be able to get away, and teleports away just right. And really what they had to do is just try and push out these lanes as much as possible and farm even more. I think another big mistake, was Morphling not having Illusion up that whole entire team fight. He ended up getting caught out and tried to obviously waveform away and then got swapped out. He didn't have any sort of teleport back in the fountain in order to have any sort of juke, and that was a huge mistake for that Morphling. He really just cannot go down in these team fights right now. And 45 minutes in, he should be able to carry his team by now.
Yeah, and well, speaking of trying to carry his team, he had really tried to morph a lot of agility going into that fight, hoping to have enough right-click damage, and that really was part of the thing that cost him there, that he started at 1,400 health going into that fight, and so, he dropped so quickly that he was immediately on the defensive rather than worrying about right-clicking. So it doesn't really matter how much right-click damage you have if you're just in a position where 2 seconds of being in a fight makes it so that you can no longer right-click enemy heroes. And then he just had to start morphing into strength, but even then he was about 50-50 strength agility by the time that he died from non-stop morphing into strength as the fight was going. So he's just going to have to watch being a little bit too aggressive with that. It looks like he is trying to morph back into a lot of agility here. This is basically what he was looking at before. He's actually going even more than that, but this could just be for farming, which is certainly fine. But if he goes into the next team fight like this, it's really going to cost them, because they're relying on his ability to absorb hits, because the Death Prophet needs to not die first. Unfortunately, there's basically never been a good Death Prophet ult in one of these fights for Replika. Even the fights they've won, it's been basically thanks to other things. The Death Prophet ult really has just not done anything for them, and that's because the Death Prophet has been going down so quickly. 404 has been doing a great job of focusing that Death Prophet at the beginning of every fight, and that was easy for them to do because the Morphling just wasn't in there long enough. He wasn't as much enough of a threat, and unfortunately also the Earthshaker was just getting caught, didn't get a good ult off. The one big fight they've had basically. The one big fight they've won, basically, this game, has been thanks to an Earthshaker ult, and that's basically going to have to be what it takes for them to win another fight. I don't really see any other way around it at this point. I mean, the Morphling, he has his Eagle Song now, but it's just so late thanks to having to have 2 buybacks, which really were necessary, but quite unfortunate. So, I mean, he's really far away from his Battle Fury, or not Battle Fury, Butterfly. And, I don't know, even then, the Butterfly is not going to do a ton. I mean, it's going to give him a nice amount of damage. Certainly Butterfly not a bad item. It's probably what I would go in his situation, but, I mean, it's going to add damage, but not just a lot of damage. It's not a pure damage item. The evasion just not being incredibly relevant. But the smoke gank is going to come in. It actually is daytime, so the Aghanims will not prevent this from Night Stalker. So here is Replika's chance.
Yeah, if they can pick off somebody here. Vengeful Spirit is a little caught out here. They don't properly jump on him. The ultimate doesn't even come down from the Death Prophet. And a huge ultimate from the Sand King. Not even an Earthshaker ultimate can stop it because the BKB on Night Stalker is just crushing kids. And 3 heroes down. And Queen of Pain needs to be able to get out as Morphling falls. He just needs to be able to get out and try and push the bottom. I mean, because once this top rack's down, it's pretty much sort of a well-known thing that once you have 2 racks down, it's pretty much GG. It's too hard to come back from that. And they have 30 seconds in order to take a tower. And on top of that, the racks. Morphling doesn't have a buyback. I'm presuming Death Prophet does not either. The only hero left up is Queen of Pain, and she can't even ultimate to push them off the tower. Can't even like mop down the creeps or anything. So a second Rax is going to go down, and they're going for a third. They know they have to wipe it out. I mean, right now 2 Rax down is a huge advantage, but there is with a Morphling still a slight advantage. They just can't get caught here. With the revives coming back up, they cannot get caught. GG well played actually coming out, and Rep doesn't even think they can try and catch anybody here. Not even attempting to try and pick someone off and pushing through the mid. They're just going to straight out call it. So 404 winning the best of 3, 2-1 is going to move on to the finals. And I'm not sure when we're going to be casting the finals, but it's not going to be right now. But guys, please be sure to add us on Facebook, like us on Facebook. We got a page on there. We also have a Twitter account. Follow us there. Follow, of course, our Twitch TV chat. Also, my girlfriend just told me that we have a lot of chat going on, so thanks for that. Also, I'm going to give a shout out to Holy for the Win and Insane Rabbi, and of course my lovely co-caster Hari. Hari, do you have any last words, any thoughts on this game?
No, not really a lot. Well, I mean, this is kind of just another chapter in my well-publicized dislike of Morphling as a pick. I felt like it would have been a little bit better on the Radiance lineup because of the aura stacking strategy on the Dyers. I don't know. I mean, in general, I don't really like the hero, and this was basically why. In any situation in which you can't go Ethereal Blade, he just doesn't really work out, and this certainly wasn't one of them. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess this would be an argument in favor of your dislike of Lincoln's as well, because he wasn't able to do any damage because he went that item, but I don't know. That had a lot to do with it, and just in general, better play. Really good movement from 404, which we saw throughout the semifinals, which was a pleasure to watch in general.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. A big thanks to all you guys who watched. I think we got a little over 100 viewers, and honestly, that wasn't what we had during the last tournament. I think we maxed out at like 1,500. But we're not actually on any. We're just now starting up this site, so we're not actually on any of the stream lists or anything like that. So you guys